What's up guys, Jordan from Bennett's Customs. We're back on another episode. And you can see I'm tucked in to the 32 two-door sedan, but I'm too excited, didn't sleep last night. Lots of light bulbs were going off. I just was eager to get in here and show you guys something really neat that I personally don't think has been done before. We're gonna be working on the 32 dash in here. You're gonna see tips of how to fill certain holes and hole sizes for tools that you can make, as well as some custom gauges that we're gonna do from Stuart Warner. We're gonna try and blend in some faux patina to obviously match the original patina that were here. And I'm gonna show you something that's gonna involve this insert panel that I think is really gonna push the envelope as far as style and taste goes. So let's get straight into the video.
I know this world can be so unkind.
Okay, so we're over at the table. We got the dash. This is gonna be not used, essentially. We need to remove these little knobs here, and then we're gonna fill these holes. But this is what I'm thinking. So, we got a dash. We have got a brand new set of Stuart Warner gauges. These are kind of the tulip style, or I think they call them the winged style. Stuart Warner production aftermarket gauges. They have the domed glass. As far as I'm concerned, for an aftermarket Stuart Warner gauge kind of that's produced nowadays, not the early type ones, these are by far the best ones you can get. They come in a mechanical and an electrical orientation, whatever one you're after. We've kind of gone for the mechanical setup just because we are running a flathead in this and everything's quite simple. What I'm thinking is I want to put these into here. So we have a small insert and then we have kind of a bit of room on either side. This is the exciting part. So after we fill these holes, over here, I have this really cool stuff that you guys have probably seen before. Maybe you wear it on your face to protect yourself from the sun, but it is acetate. And this acetate is what creates sunglasses. Otis is a sunglass company that has been sort of made, manufactured, and does everything down here in the Southwest. We work quite closely with them. They are really good friends of ours, and they make an insanely good quality sunglass and prescription glasses as well. They use a glass lens, and they have all different styles, and they're just kind of a core little small, business that is really achieves quality, which is kind of, that's what I love to do. Quality is the best thing. So I have had this idea for a long time to somehow incorporate this acetate into the build. I want to do something on my Roadster as well, but what I thought would be really cool is incorporating this tortoise style acetate into the actual dash panel itself. The reason why I chose this tortoise, you can actually see when it has a little bit of light behind it, it's got these incredible textures throughout it, and it's got sort of like an orange, there's browns, there's dark kind of, darker browns, a bit of black in there. It's all the colors that, basically resemble like the patina that we're kind of after. You can actually see that this is quite dull, but when I spray it, if I grab this here, when I spray this, you can see that once we get a clear coat on there, very similar to like base coat, when you're painting, the base coat's there, but it's not really gonna pop until it's got that clear on it. You can see how much that really pops and how cool that's gonna look. And the best thing is once we have an accessory light behind it, it's gonna glow. I think this is just, stepping into a really cool, creative way to, tie both Otis and Bennett's kind of together to come up with these really neat ideas. I don't know, I'm really excited about this one. You guys know I love finer details, so I think this is one detail that is gonna sort of set the bar as far as different styles go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is give it the Galmet treatment. You guys have seen me use this tons of times. I always explain it basically anytime we're doing something that we're trying to preserve the patina. but it is that ironized rust sealer and converter. I love to use this stuff. It really gives a ton of depth and a really good finish and seals sort of the surface rust that's there. If you do want to see a little bit more about this, jump to last week's episode where I kind of cover this and the Ranex, the two main ingredients that I use for sort of treating rust in both games of making sure it's perfect clean metal or preserving a bit of that patina that we're after. So you can see why obviously this is a, you know, kind of an iconic dash panel to use. It is quite a very nice, stylish panel with some really nice curves to it, and just sort of the way it's stamped out is amazing. And on the back side is pretty cool. This is actually the original paint, and if we again add that, you know, that color to it, you can actually see it's kind of like almost like a browny gray color, and I believe it's called Palm Beach Gray. That was sort of a factory lacquer color that they did. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, you can kind of see, obviously it's neat to see how long that paint has lasted from 1932. So good old lacquer paint. It's once it's on there, it's on there. On here, and then we're gonna try and do this in one shot. Well, hoping to. I might just put a little bit over here. Again, when you're applying this stuff, like, you know, don't be scared to use a bit. Once this is actually soaked in, it works a lot better to really get kind of deep in those stubborn areas that you're obviously after. Okay, so I'm going to give you two different options for when you need to fill larger holes. Biggest one is like screw holes that are a little bit bigger to want to actually put a lot of filler in. So, you know, like this is a great example. It's probably about a 12 mil hole. If we were to just roughly gauge it, it's pretty darn good. It's actually 12 mil. The biggest thing here is that this, if we wanted to try and tack up and blend out, it's possible. We could use the MIG, it would do it, and you could chase it. This one's definitely a little bit too big in order to do that. So we want to put a bit of, you know, some filler or a piece to be able to actually weld into it. This one I've learned from Carl. I learned a lot of stuff from that guy. He's just he's an absolute wizard. So what we have here is a couple pieces of scrap that I had. This one being a leaf spring spacer plate, I believe it was, or, you know, probably, well, that's exactly what it was. It looks like a 1/2 inch one. And what I did, I used the 1 mil disc on the grinder, and I just cut a corner through it, and then I drilled a hole the exact size of this 3/8 extension. That was just kind of an old surplus piece that I had there. So the cool thing about this is for holes that are, you know, slightly smaller than this, what you can do is take a piece of scrap here, stick your piece of sheet metal in between like that. And I've just picked a, you know, relatively clean piece. This has got a nice sharp edge on it here. So when we put this down and you give it a bash, and out pops this perfect little piece. And it's got a clean edge all the way around it. Then you use a step bit or, you know, this exact same drill bit size as this. So what we'll do is we'll go grab our step bit and we can open this up and we can drop this guy in perfectly flush, do one little pass around there, we'll blend it out, we'll add just a little bit of paint in this area, and we'll try and, you know, replicate the patina that's already there. So TIG welding and magnets do not get along, but what I want to do is just get a quick little tack on there if I can. And I just want to make sure that this is going to be nice and flush, so you can see how well that worked in order to fill a hole. I am running a 1.2 tungsten and like 030 or 035 MIG wire. I really like to use this stuff just because it's a little bit nicer to work with. But
time I see the sun, a rooster crows for days. And every time I see that gal, she always looks away. Hell, she always looks away. Hold on, baby, just hold on. I'll be coming home, back where I belong. Hold on, baby, baby, just hold on. Sunday morning meeting time, I hear them church bells ring. Y'all seen them late last night, go out and shake that thing.
all right, so we got our holes filled, and we're gonna blend those after. And what I did was, you watched me, I just used the laser so I could run a line right across to match up with my corners and my measurements that I made to make sure that everything was gonna be dead straight. So I've just run 2 pilot holes for the accessory gauges that'll go on our outsides. Remembering that this is going to be right-hand drive, I'll probably put temp and oil pressure on this side, and we'll have battery and fuel on this side. I looked at the center for running attack and the speedo, and it was just too crammed. I don't think it was going to be, you know, enough room around to sort of breathe. And especially to kind of complement the acetate that we're using behind here. So I opted to just put the speedo directly in the center, and then we have 2 sort of pilot holes there that I can use as a template afterwards. But we do have like a little red warning switch. These are kind of an aircraft accessory light. I will end up using one of these for the generator. And what I was thinking was, speedo, the generator light over here, and then on this side we could have a key for ignition, and either have it for ignition on or ignition and then maybe a push button somewhere else. So I kind of want to get these gauges popped in. We're going to drill the hole in the acetate for the main one, and then I might just hold it into place and kind of hold up a few things. So we do have a little bit of room for error, but I kind of want to utilize the other sheet for another future video. So. All right, so we have our panel, and I've just tested just a little bit of single pack, like I guess it's enamel spray paint. I just wanted to see if it was really going to bring that detail out, and it essentially did a very good job of that. I held it in there, it looks great, but I still want to add a little bit more to it. It's a little bit empty. So I want to create a couple of pieces. So what I'm thinking is I've used my template, I've put it back on, I've actually drilled 2 pilot holes already for our kind of upcoming piece. So first one is, I pulled this out of Ben's Roadster. This is a Lucas headlight ignition switch kind of all-in-one, which is really cool. So you obviously have key goes in, and then you can run to your start, and then you can either run it to like a push button, which is essentially what we're going to do, and we'll probably hide the push button somewhere. And then the cool thing is you have your standard and high beam lights in there. And then this is kind of like a bakelite switch. It's got a nice chrome bezel around it with like the rest of the stuff with a black face, and then it just says Lucas underneath. So it's a really neat piece, and it's nice because it's kind of an all-in-one, and it definitely still looks, looks the part. And I believe these would have come factory in like early Series 1 or Series 2 Land Rovers. That's kind of how I found them when I built one for a brewery company a long, long time ago. So that is, again, a really neat fact that you can kind of overlay different products for different cars. I mentioned the Combi van, radial flyer. There's so many relations to those fine and cool little parts that you can use on those Volkswagens that do relate, and you could actually use them on your hot rod build or vice versa. Like you've seen me use tons of Ford parts on that. So it's kind of fun to, there's a certain recipe you obviously want to follow, but it's kind of stepping outside of the box, hence using this stuff, is where the creative bit comes from. Having said that, we are going to drill another hole for our starter headlight switch, and then over on this side we're going to put a warning light in. You guys have probably seen like blue dots, or they call them like glass jewels, and these are essentially a piece of glass that's kind of cut and shaped like a jewel, and then they have this really neat stainless bezel around them. A gentleman by the name of John Oliver, you can find him on Instagram, and I'll put his information in the link below. He actually makes these, hand makes them, which is really cool. He uses a diamond core cutter. He cuts all his pieces out of a piece of glass, and then he's made an incredibly cool little jig where he punches all these little bits of stainless out. So these are what you'd use. If you can get blue ones as well, and you can kind of drill directly into a taillight lens, and then you can put these in and fold it. I'm going to use this for just a single one right in the middle, just like that. Nothing special, nothing too off off the kind of the beaten path, I guess. And this is going to be a warning light or a generator light. It's got a beautiful, nice dark glass kind of look to it, and we will just fit like a bulb per se. Okay, so we just got a little bit of Sickens clear here. This is kind of the really nice stuff I use, like good high quality clear I use for when I'm doing that custom paint work. But we already got it cleaned. I just use a little bit of glass cleaner. So that should be fine.
Is acting like a man you'll never understand. But baby, don't leave. Baby, don't leave. Save me. Save me. You gotta save me. Save me. Save me. You gotta save me.
All right, so we have a relatively nice finished product. From the first spray, I came in and I used an interface pad on the DA with 320 and went over it and then went over it again with 500. And that was basically to kind of smooth the clear coat that was there. There wasn't really many high and lows. When you do spray something that's got like edges, it kind of does build up on the edge prior to wanting to go over. So I smoothed those out. There was just obviously spraying in an open shop. As soon as you do that, it's prone to wanting to be a magnet for anything that was dust related. Unfortunately, a fly landed as soon as I turned the camera off. Pulled it out, tried to kind of feather it out, and it just didn't work. So I let it sit overnight, cure for 24 hours, came in, blocked it down, and sprayed it again. And then I just stuck it in like a little plastic tote container with some ventilation to obviously let the gases expel from the paint itself. And it's turned out really nice. So you can really see, you know, if we hold these together where this came out, like the difference between when you add the clear or not. You kind of get that look, and you can kind of see it, but it's not until you put that clear on that it just makes it pop. That brings us on to our next step. Over the weekend, I was trying to figure out the best way to do it. I thought about just drilling 4 holes and kind of going straight through the plastic. Then I thought, well, maybe I should make like a, you know, like a little lip or a collar. But the thing is I can't put anything on the back of it because what if we have braces or anything, you're gonna see that when we go to backlight it. So I thought maybe I can make a border, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I have this piece here. It is probably 1.6 mil alley. And it's just kind of what I had. It's a piece of scrap, but it'll work perfectly. And what I did was I traced out the perimeter of of our material. That's the inside one. And then I've added this piece of 12 mil tape. So that's giving me just a little bit of a lip all the way around. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and put this through the bead roller with a step. And what we're gonna try and achieve is kind of like a little frame that's gonna go all the way around. And that step is gonna give it a lot of rigidity. Then we're just gonna have 2 holes on either side. And I'm gonna use little studs. So I just got these little 3/8 cup head Allen bolts with some nuts and a few washers. And the washer and nut on both sides will just allow us to sort of pinch it together. And what we're gonna do is just cut those off. I'm gonna weld those straight to the dash, and then this can be easily removed and put in, but it's kind of got like a border around it that's actually gonna hold it in. So those studs can also add, act as a bit of an earth if we need to earth anything for the gauges or whatever. So, but that's sort of the simplest, most effective way to be able to mount this and having that support. I really want to make sure I have that support because this stuff does have a bit of flex, and I've noticed with a little bit of heat, it can sort of manipulate. Okay, so all we did was just silicon bronze a couple of little studs there, and I've put a nut on the inside with a washer so I can adjust the depth of where it sits. Now I'm ready to kind of pull off the nice tape, and we're gonna go straight to getting this fitted, which I'm really excited about. But I just put some tape on the fresh clear, didn't want to ruin anything, so once that's on, we'll be able to wipe it off. But we're gonna set this down into position where we want it, and then we got our nice little bezel, and you can see when it's kind of holding it down, it really does a nice job of holding it evenly, which is what I was all about. First off, right off the bat, we're just gonna put our speedo gauge in. I'm a little bit nervous to touch it, and then with our glass jewel warning light, these just kind of go in because they're designed to be folded over on the back side. So, but I obviously want it to, there we go. And then this I made so it's nice and snug, and then it has a little notch that it sits in. So, but that right there is exactly what we're after, you know, just this pure setup of the Galmet, the patina, all those colors, and then, you know, those colors definitely still relate into that there. So again, when you hold it up against the window, like, it does not get any better than that. I'm really, really pumped on this. You can see the illumination with what the generator light would look like, so that'll just be our warning light. I didn't really cover too much about doing the custom paint work because there wasn't enough there to be able to do it. I kind of just went over with a bit of the black satin paint and then just kind of dabbed it with a rag. It was really, took me about 2 seconds. And we'll probably just leave that for now until you know, we go to actually have this fully installed for the last time. I'll probably do another coat or two of the Galmet itself just to kind of build it up a little bit. But exactly what I was after, you know, as far as having just a different setup and utilizing a different material for it. So, I mean, ultimately, the end goal is let's go put it in the car. We'll screw it back in and we'll stand back and see what it's really gonna look like. Whoa, that's f***ing so cool. So cool. I'm f***ing frothing that. Well, with a little bit of backlight behind the gauges, and you know, we just kind of held that flashlight up behind there just to see what it would look like illuminated, but it's pretty wild. It almost looks like lava or something on fire. It's so cool, but really cool. You know, the inspiration just coming from a pair of sunnies that you know, has that tortoise shell, and being able to work with Otis in order to get some and kind of have it relate to a new pair of sunnies that are coming out was really cool. And just, you know, like, I like stepping outside of the box. You guys know that. And I try and emphasize that a lot. And this one was a little bit stepping out, but I kind of was confident that it was going to be a really neat shape, or a neat texture, and kind of, you know, exactly what I was trying to achieve. And it far better has come out, you know, than expected. So I'm really, really happy with it. Subtle, but still really cool. And we can still tie this into other parts of the car. So, you know, we don't want to do a lot. We don't want to, you know, definitely less is more with this stuff. But I'm thinking potentially do like an insert for a steering wheel. Maybe even be able to do one where we actually use the mold and I still keep the Mercury head there, which is very iconic and a really neat piece. So if we just did sort of the silver part, you know, potentially, or we just do a shift knob and maybe some, you know, some window winder ends or something like that, like just real subtle. Massive thanks to Otis as well. We'll put their link down below. Make sure you guys check out their website. They got some amazing sunglass and glasses frames. So yeah, don't be afraid to jump on there and have a squiz. But other than that, headway going forward, gonna go pick up that header panel that I was telling you guys about, get the rust repair done on there, and then that means we can actually start to get this you know, welded into the body and have all that done so that we can actually pull this body off the frame and get the frame up in the jig. So we want to make some headway on it, and we're really close. So this was a really fun little kind of side project to see whether or not it was going to work, and it has ticked all my boxes. So hopefully it has to you guys as well. Definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think, or if there's other materials out there that kind of, you know, have kind of given you a little bit of a light bulb moment and thought, hey, this could look really cool. You know, we're all ears, so it'd be really neat to see what you guys think and, you know, kind of go from there. Again, make sure you tell your friends about the channel. Ben just informed me that we are nearly at 500,000 subscribers, which is outrageous. Never thought that was going to be even in the foreseeable future when we started doing this. And yeah, that's pretty wild. I'm kind of taking that in actually. And that's really neat. So again, none of this would be done without the support that you guys give us and all the tips and emails and feedback. It has been so positive the entire journey. And you know, it'll be exciting to see what the future has in store. So make sure you tell your friends to, you know, like and subscribe if they haven't. Let's hit that 500,000.